Hello, hello. Good afternoon. My name is Ruben Jean. I am a former president of FASIA, currently serving emeritus. This evening, I'm here to introduce to you a set of lawyers who are going to talk about some of the immigration issues facing our community. I want to first bring to the stage my wife, Doreen Nanda, and she will present the program for you. And please bring your questions. We will try to answer as best as possible, but it's just an informational forum, just to discuss what's going on in our community. And as I bring to the stage, here's Doreen Nanda, the host for this evening's program, and she will introduce the program and start the discussion. Thank you for joining us this evening. And as we're going to start, if you don't mind, just join me in a word of prayer. I think it's more than appropriate. And so, without further ado, uh, bow your heads if you can. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to be able to have the knowledge to be able to talk and discuss some of the issues that we're facing. We ask that this discussion will be helpful and will be information that we can share to individuals that can use it, Lord. Be with those that are participating tonight in their household. Bless everyone here listening on the channel this evening. And we thank you once again for all that you've done for us and all that you will do for us. We know that we can put our trust in you because you are the mighty God, and we believe in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ruben. Good evening, everyone. My name is Doreen Nandajan, and I'm an attorney here in Orlando, Florida. Just as a way of background, I went to law school in Boston, Massachusetts, and then I'm barred in New York and Florida. I have practiced since 2012. April is going to be my 14th year anniversary. So I've done bankruptcy, I've done employee benefits, general litigation, and I've met the other two presenters when we were all at the state attorney's office. I was in the economic crimes unit, prosecuting financial crimes, and immigration has always been a passion of mine. So some way, somehow, I'm always drawn back to immigration. So we're grateful that FASIA is giving us this platform to be able to present and educate folks in our communities. So I'm excited about the attorneys that we have on the panel today. And I am grateful that they have accepted to lend us their expertise. So without further ado, because I don't want to take away from their presentation, they're going to each introduce themselves and then just jump right into the presentation. Just so you know, if you have questions as they go, type them in the chat in the comments, and we will have a Q&A session in the end. So type your questions. If you don't get answers to your questions, it's not because we're ignoring you. It's just it's not the time for it yet. But do not hesitate to ask your questions in the chat. So thank you.
During you're
I'm
going to
not sure
introduce.
if Will or Peterson, I know Peterson is going to be the first presenting. So
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Peter Centerville. I am the owner and managing attorney at Saville Law. I'm I've been an attorney since 2020, so I've been practicing about 6 years now. I've done criminal defense. I was a prosecutor, and I do immigration. Also, I do personal injury.
I,
Go ahead, Will. You're on.
thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is William Gorillas. I am an attorney. I am the managing attorney of Gorillas Law firm based in Orlando, Florida, but we practice nationwide, especially when it comes to immigration. Like the previous speakers have stated, we met as prosecutors at the Ninth Judicial Circuit. I think we worked together for about 2 years. Now we all have gone to private practice. I've been practicing law since 2018, so I'm going on 8 years now. Since I've been doing immigration, I did a year and a half as a, what do you call that? As an intern, as an intern, right? So then since when I got out of law school, the first job that I had was immigration. So immigration as an immigrant, originally from Haiti, born and raised. So immigration has been a part of my life. I went through the process myself. So it's something that I want to do because I'm passionate about immigrations, and I want to give back. It's my way of giving back as well. In addition to immigration, I practice some form of criminal law, mostly misdemeanor cases, and I do proceedings as well.
All right, we're going to start with Peterson's presentation. Thank you, Ruben.
The stream. So, and thank you, Feja, for giving us the opportunity to present in this town hall. And I know how it is very important for the Asian community right now to know about the rights and immigration right now. I'll say it bluntly, it's kind of a mess. And because of that, there's a lot of attorneys who don't want to even practice it. But it's our job to really educate the community. So we'll do our best to present to you whatever we can right now. And if you have a question, you can just follow up. So there are two ways to come into the United States. Either you come legally or illegally. So if you come illegally, there's still a pathway to legalization. And that's pretty much what we're going to touch on. And but before we go into entering the United States, we kind of like want to do a historical overview of immigration, or maybe a overview of the modern immigration system. So now the purpose of immigration is to reunite family to oh, sorry, who's controlling the slide? So I don't think I can control it from my phone. Okay, thank you. So it's the purpose to reunite families and strengthen national security, and also to protect people who are displaced. So the first one is, so whenever a family member is found in himself or herself in the United States, either the person is a U.S. citizen or LPR, legal permanent resident. So the immigration system allow that person to bring family members. And when we're talking about family members, we talk about immediate family. And sometimes husband, wife, son, daughters, mothers, fathers. So now, the second purpose of immigration, which we mentioned earlier, is national security. So it's kind of like to control the borders of the United States, so that the country has control over who comes and who leaves. Because without strong borders, no country can ever exist, because anybody can come in. So immigration was a bit relaxed back in the days, and there have been several changes in trying to make it more efficient, more safe for the people living in the country. Then if we go back to World War II, and if we go back to after 9/11, so there have been a lot of laws passed so that they can control the borders, and that's why now we have the CBP, people controlling the border and really doing a lot of things to prevent people from just coming in. And the third one is to protect people who are displaced, or people who are being persecuted. For example, we remember France gave United States the Statue of Liberty. It's because United States was open to welcoming everybody, and that was the reason. And that's kind of like one of the reasons you see a lot of people immigrate to the United States. because it was a country that was open to everybody who's seeking refuge. So, as I mentioned earlier, so there's two ways to come into the United States. The first one is coming legally. So you have your visa, either it's a temporary visa or student visa, whatever visa it is. So you come into the United States. And then once that happens, so you are inspected at the port of entry. So when you come in, they verify you, you have all the paperwork, boom, you're good. That's called legal immigration. But illegal immigration is different, right? So now it's twofold. The first one, you can be inspected and you come in. So once now you overstay your welcome, like people say, now you become kind of like what they say illegal. And then the second part is when you come without inspection. So you just come. So like people usually say, it's kind of like you go through either some people swim over and then they were not detected or inspected, and then they've been living in the country and then without being inspected, and at that point, so it's very difficult for you. But there's a difference between people who come in and they were inspected and now being illegal versus people who come in without inspection. So people who were inspected, they can still, it's easier for them. Let me just say that it's easier for them to get pathways to a legalization versus people who come without inspection. So now there's
Quick
two ways.
question. Quick question, Peterson.
Yes.
So inspection, can you just expound a little bit more on inspection?
Okay, yeah. So
In
when we're
terms
talking
of
about yeah, so when
Yes,
we're
go
talking
ahead.
about inspection, we're talking about you going through immigration, right? You get your passport, they verify you who you are, they slip your passport, and then you're good. That's inspection. When you come without inspection, that means you didn't
Okay.
you didn't meet with a border officer, and you just come to the country, like you said, you can either go to the bushes without people seeing you, and then it's kind of like a stealth entry. Nobody know, you just boom, you find yourself in the United States without a passport or any paper that authorize you to be in the United States.
Thank
So
you.
that's basically like inspection and without inspection. Thank you, Doreen. So now so if you come to the United States and you now found yourself to be illegal, like people say, there's always a way to get your legalization. There's always a way. So now some people sometimes they think, okay, that's it for me. I'm illegal at this point. What can I do? Because I have no way to now be legal because I'm illegal, and I have the stigma on me. And wherever I go, they'll be like, okay, so you don't have proper paperwork or you don't have proper document. Therefore, we're not gonna do anything for you. It's never too late. There's things that you can do. So the first thing, if you have a family who's American citizen or LPR, which is legal permanent, so you still can get your legalization. So they can petition for you, like if it's your mom, your dad, or if it's a son and daughter, they can petition for you, and that can give you access to stay in the United States. Now, for example, if you came, you were inspected, so of course you're gonna go and you file the petition, and you adjust your status and so on until you get your legalization. And for people who came without inspection, so it's gonna be much tougher. Sometimes you have to go back to your country in order to get your visa, and sometimes you have to file I believe I-160A, for them to allow you to stay in the country. And so that's very difficult to happen. And the second thing, people who came to the United States, they can get the a legal residence through either a U visa and a T visa. So now, so people who are victim, sexual abuse, kidnapping, torture, stuff like that, that really help you. But in order for you to be in order for you to benefit from that, you have to cooperate with law enforcement officer. You cannot just be like, okay, so I am going to I'm a victim, and therefore I need to have a benefit of this law, of this protection, but without cooperating. Because if you don't cooperate with the officers, then you cannot in any way enjoy the benefit of that. And so because in our culture, Haitian culture, sometimes people tend to just, something happened and then they just let it go, and they be like, okay, it's fine, it happened, it just like boom, we done. No, you have to help law enforcement officer to get the the person or the alleged offender, get them, arrest them, or anything like that. But if you just say, okay, this happened, and then that's it, then there's nothing they can do for you. You have
So
to
these
assist
are
them.
cases. So these are. So are these cases where someone would be the victim of a crime, and they would have to report that crime to authorities? Is that how it works?
Yes, you have to report it, and once you report that, and then they're gonna do the investigation, and you assist them during that investigation, and that will help you to get legal status. And then there's another one which is PAPE, is parole in place. Parole in place is mostly for military family members, right? So if, for example, somebody come to the country illegally, and now they want to stay legally, but they have like a mother or father or son, daughter who's in the military, so they can, the family member or the military member can petition for them. And when the petition for them, that will help them to stay in the country. With that one, it's not a permanent one, it's a temporary one. But it will help you to stay in the country, work and do everything while you're waiting for, any sort of permanent legalization. And the fourth one, the fifth one, sorry, it's asylum, right? Which we know that it's big in our community. So a lot of people, you come, they're like, okay, we got to do asylum, we got to do asylum, we got to do asylum. I think that's one of the most important thing that we have to touch upon right now, because a lot of people file for asylum, and now a lot of them don't really know, okay, what we need to do for asylum, and that's very important that we're gonna touch upon. So now let's talk about asylum. So in order for somebody to qualify for asylum, right? First of all, asylum is there to protect certain people who are being persecuted wherever they're from. So now, for example, if you're Haitian, you were in Haiti, you've been persecuted, then okay, you come to the United States, you can file for asylum. So when you're filing for asylum, there's 5 categories that you need to fall under. The first one is race. The second one is religion. The third one, nationality. The fourth one, which is membership in a particular social group. And the fifth one is political opinion. So those are the category that you need to fall under in order for you to get asylum. And asylum, truthfully, is very, very, very hard to get. People don't really get asylum like that. So when it comes to Haiti, so if we talk right now, we can cross out race. So I know this this town hall is mostly for Haitian. I don't know if I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, you can tell me. But it's mostly for Haitian, right? So that's why I'm going to cross out race. I'm going to cross out religion and nationality, because those will not apply to us as Haitian. So we have two left, which is political opinion and membership in a particular social group. So now let's touch about political opinion, which it's one of the reasons many Haitians file for asylum, because most of, I would say, so far, based on what I see, I would say 80 to 90% of Haitian, when they file asylum, is because of political opinion. And everybody knows that we always have some political turmoil in Haiti. So now, in order for you to qualify, right? So you have to look at, when you political opinion, you have to look at, okay, so are you refusing, to support armed groups? Are you opposed, to a regime? Are you a human rights activist? Are you a whistleblower? Are you a union organizer? So they look at those to determine whether you really fall under the political group. So you have to be involved in politics in order for you to qualify under that. So back in the
Do I
days, Mhm.
do I have to be a member of a particular political party?
So not a particular, as long as you're a member of so if I understand it, so as long as you part of the political group, and that political
Mhm.
group is either very active, and because
Okay.
of your activity, or because of what the political group is doing, and they are endangered by the regime in place, then you will qualify for it. But if,
Okay.
for example, you are part of the ruling party, but you're not opposed to anything they're doing, you're not doing anything, so now you will not qualify because you're not facing persecution. But if you're part of the ruling party or ruling regime, and you're opposed to certain things, but you're scared of speak freely, you can run away, because at that point you can seek for asylum and become a whistleblower. Or if you're a whistleblower before, you can do it, and then you get yourself out of the country and go to the
Yes.
United States and seeking asylum. So that's pretty much how you can qualify under that. But the problem is that a lot of Haitian I see, they say, okay, political opinion, and when I talk to them, they be like, I'm never in politics. So I have gang members who just came to my house, and because of that I'm seeking asylum. So, and truthfully, I gotta give attorney Garylis props for that. And during the early stage when I opened my firm and I was speaking with him, he always tell me, one thing we need to really look at is membership in a particular social group, which is very, very important. So a lot of Haitians think that, okay, we have to go through political opinion, but with our country right now, we don't really, even though we are in a political crisis, but we don't have an issue where a regime is persecuting its own people. We're in a political turmoil. And because of that, I believe many Haitians can qualify under the particular social group, which is PSG, right? They would qualify under that. So, but is the difficult thing about PSG, and which make it even better for Haitian, it's because there has not really been a clear definition of PSG. Like some courts, some judges, look at it differently. And although there's a
Yes.
limitation, of course, but some judges look at it differently. And it's always kind of like a struggle for some people, and even myself. When you looking at a case within the parameters of PSG. Miss Doreen, you wanna say something? I see, like, no?
Oh no, it's because we lost you for a few seconds. That's
Oh,
all.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so but yeah, so it's kind of like PSG, it's kind of like our best bet. And I'll tell my Asian people, if you're filing asylum, it's something that you really need to look into, because when talking about a particular social group, we're talking about people who have a group that has the same characteristic. So it's kind of like sometimes you part of a group you don't even know why. For example, let's take an example. It's just an example. If we have the student, right? The university student in Haiti, university student are known to, to protest against brutality and dictatorship. So now, if you are a university student, so now they after a certain student or they after a university student, even though you didn't know, you didn't participate in anything, you will qualify, as being part of the particular social group because you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, you didn't actively participate, you will qualify under the particular social group, for asylum. Versus political group, you have to be part of it, actively part of it. So that's kind of like the difference and between political group and a particular social group. So I see that I'm only 26 minutes, so I'm trying to
No, you're good.
take with time. So now, once you file for asylum, there's a process to file for it. So the first thing, you have to express intent, to whenever you enter United States, you express intent that, okay, you want to seek asylum, so once you do that, first, if you are at the border, you do that. For example, a lot of people during Biden era, so or the Biden presidency, so they come to the port of entry, at the border, and then they be like, okay, I want to seek asylum. So at that moment, what they do is just they had an interview. In that interview, it's kind of like a credible fear interview to see, okay, if what you are saying really true, that you feel persecution going back to your country. And now after that, they finish doing that, so they let you in the country. So now you have 1 year to file your asylum. So that doesn't mean if you pass that year, you can't file asylum anymore. No, you can, but you have 1 year to file it. So so if you fail to file it within 1 year, sorry, so you have to prove. So if you fail to file it within 1 year, you have to prove, okay, there's a change in circumstances. There's extraordinary circumstances that prevent you from filing it, within that year, or your status has changed, and you have to show them, okay, so you act promptly whenever your status has changed. So usually within reasonable time. So now, reasonable time can vary. So it depends on your circumstances. But people can say, okay, 30 days is reasonable, 60 days, 90 days. But it usually depends on your circumstance. Now, so there's two types of asylum. There's affirmative asylum and defensive asylum. Affirmative asylum, like I was saying, so you go to the port of entry, you'll be like, hey, you know what? So I wanna seek asylum, and be protected under the law of the United States. So you started the process like that. Defensive asylum, on the other hand, is when you already on removal proceeding. So usually that's before a court. So you, like, for example, a lot of people right now, they are in defensive asylum because they're already in front of the court filing their asylum, and then at that point they need a legal representation. So this one, the affirmative asylum, USCIS is going to be the one deciding, okay, so after interview, they decide, okay, this is what's going to happen in your case. Versus defensive asylum is the court that will decide. And after listening to your case, your attorney present evidence, and the judge will decide whether, they believe you or whether you should get asylum in the United States. So now,
are you saying, because I can only imagine people wondering about affirmative and defensive. So it sounds like you're saying that a defensive asylum is when the government already has you for something, and you're basically you're defending yourself. You're trying to stay in the country, and that's a tool that you're using, or that's a pathway that is appropriate for you. Whereas affirmative is you just go and you apply. There's nothing against you. The government hasn't started any procedure against you. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yes, technically, yeah. When you're defensive, technically you're already in a removal proceeding.
Okay.
So they'll be like, okay, so you have to leave the country. Then you file for asylum at that point, because when you file it, so you are protected, they cannot just deport you like that, because they don't know if what you are saying is true or not. So they have to kind of like give you the benefit of the doubt. They have to give you the benefit of the doubt, so that you can Let me close the chat. Yeah, so you can at least present your evidence before the court, and the judge will decide, whether they should believe you or not.
Okay. I have a question that came in also, and it is what is an acceptable proof of political persecution? I'm sorry.
So okay, so there's not exactly like a paper proof that
Like
you
a
need
list.
to give, but anything. First of all, is your story, right? So if you have story and your story need to be backed up by evidence, right? For example, if I say I was, this I was in this political party and this is what happened to me because I wasn't that. So first of all, my story is evidence.
Yes.
My story is evidence. The second thing is just like I have to have some documentation, to back it up.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of people would believe you with what you said, but when you have some proof, like if you have photos, if you have audio, you have police report, whatever you have to corroborate your story will help you in the long run. So there's not a particular one, but anything that you can have that will support you, you need to have it.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, so for asylum, whenever you apply for asylum, so once you apply, so you can definitely, seek a way to work in the United States. Because if you apply for asylum and then they have not decided on your case yet, so and then you're just there and not working and not doing anything, so you're not contributing to the society, so you're not helping yourself. So because of that, the law of the United States allow you to work while your case is pending. So and so whenever you apply for asylum, whether you apply to the court or USCIS, so you can apply for work permit. You know, you can apply for a work permit, which is if you have your asylum is pending for 150 days, then you apply for work permit, and then so they, the immigration should, look at your case within 30 days and give you a decision, but that does not always happen, because there's a lot of backlog, and then so they're very busy. So because of that, the 30 days, will never really apply. So before, now with the new administration, so now you gotta pay, $560, to apply for the work permit. So which is crazy. You have so imagine you're not working and then you have to pay to apply for a permit. But there's a way to, before there was a way, but now you cannot even waive that fee. So so it just crazy. So it's technically, trying to cripple people, and then so, like I said, the government is required to make a ruling, on your application for a work permit within 30 days, but that does not, usually happen. So now, if you have a work permit that's, before December 2025, so it will be valid for 18 months instead of, no, after December 4th, 2025, it will be valid after, for 18 months instead of the 5 year that it used to be. Before that, it used to be 5 years. So it gives you 5 years, so you can work and wait for, for your case to be called and then reviewed and the decision be made. But now it's 18 months, which is crazy. So now there's key updates on immigration. So the key updates on immigration right now, there's it's a work authorization restriction, like we were saying. It's a way for the administration to kind of like discourage people to apply and increase illegal immigration, and also increase because what I realized, a lot of people, I've been following different counties where people were arrested. A lot of people have been arrested for the sole reason of driving without proper license. So,
Yes.
and those people, they are law-abiding citizen, or a law-abiding alien. So they work, they pay taxes, they do everything, but the sole reason they are being arrested is because they don't have a valid driver license, and the only reason they cannot have that is because the administration make it harder for them to work. So now those people, they have to take a chance. Either I leave my kids dying like that and not paying my bills and get, and some of them, they they have houses. Some of them, they have cars that they're paying. So either they leave those and then just stay home, or they take the chance and go to work, and feed their family. And they do that, and sometimes they get arrested. So that's pretty much the crazy. That's pretty much what the administration is doing. So which is kind of like trying to either not either, sorry, both trying to destroy the immigration system and also destroy the family. That's kind of like the backbone of the community. So now they want people to wait for 365 days, and it is crazy. Before it was like 180 days, now it's 365 days, which is crazy. And then so you have to pay $102, while your case is pending. So it's a lot of things that this administration is doing. And also you have to submit evidence within 14 days before your interviews. And sometimes it takes, like, for example, I had court not too long ago, maybe about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, and the judge gave me 30 days to submit evidence and file application for my client. I'm trying to meet with her, get the application done, and I've not been able to. And the 30 days is close to arrive. So to show you which, they put pressure on us, they do a lot of things. It's kind of like, destroying people. So that's pretty much what, about Asylum right now. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm already way past my time. And then I'll give it to our list. And then after that, I'll take questions.
I have two questions for you before we move on. The first question, when you were talking about the family petition, who can my grandmother file for me? My grandmother is a U.S. citizen. Can she file for me?
Okay, so technically no. However, so if your grandmother applied for your mother, then it can add you to that. So whenever your mother comes, so she can apply for you.
Okay.
But there's another way around it too. Your grandmother can adopt you as Doug, So there's a way you can
Yes, I like that. And then my other question is, asylum is so much more complex. So we appreciate you just cramming that in the little bit of time that we gave you. So I'm originally from Cameroon in Africa, and I know in the African community, there's a hard time getting people to understand the value in hiring an attorney to see if you have a case. So can you speak to the community as to the need to speak to someone to see if they have a case, if they have an asylum case?
Yeah, so definitely, and I always encourage people. So sometimes I understand sometimes you're scared of the fee, when it comes to attorneys. But what's important, you can just pay for 1 hour or 45 minutes consultation. So a lot of people do it for free. A lot of attorneys charge for it. So it's always good to consult an attorney. Whatever your case is, whatever it is, don't be like, okay, I get it, I'm going to go and do it. Because I see a lot of people, they'll be like, okay, I'm not going to go to an attorney because it's too expensive.
And I file myself. Do you advise people to file for themselves?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I say I found a lot of time people, they be like, oh, I don't want to pay attorney. And they just go and find somebody, file asylum. And then you're looking at that asylum, you'll be like, what is that? And the person does not even know what is in it. So that's why you have to talk to an attorney. I understand it can be expensive sometimes, but you have to talk to an attorney. Whatever immigration issue you have, talk to an attorney. Even if you don't have a lot of money, at least some of them provide free consultation or, a low fee consultation. Just find an attorney to speak with.
Yes, thank you so much. This concludes our first part. Thank you very much for sharing all this information with us. We appreciate you generously giving your time. And like he said, it is important to consult with an attorney. The consultation fees are low, and a lot of attorneys offer free consultation. You have attorneys here on the panel who will share their information in the end, and you can reach out to them individually to see if you have a case. I implore you to consult with an attorney. It is vital that you do that. So we are ready for the next presentation with Will, and he's going to look at a different aspects of immigration. Ruben, over to you. I'm on now. There you go.
All right. I'm waiting for my PowerPoint slides. But while Ruben put up my PowerPoint slides, let me reinforce, let me add to what Attorney Peterson said about consulting with an attorney. Listen, we are immigrants. We all been there. I mean, I can't speak for you guys. I've been there, like, where $100 was a lot of money for me. But it's worth, my point is, if you make the sacrifice to be here, right, you might as well spend that extra $100 to speak to an attorney. I don't know how many times I've seen a case that was an easy case, or that was much easier. Then they did it themselves, or they hire someone from the street who mess up the case. He makes it way more complicated, or sometimes even impossible. So it's worth it to speak with an attorney, even if you don't intend on hiring one. Just speak, get that $100, $200 consultation fee to at least speak to an attorney. I think it's worth the investment.
Absolutely, I agree. Ruben, are we ready? Okay. It looks like you need to re-upload.
Really? Let me see. Present. No.
Good. Okay, awesome. You have control, right?
I think I do.
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay, great. I apologize in advance. My PowerPoint slide, they're not as nice as Attorney Peterson's. I'm a simple guy. Again, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So we're going to talk about different aspects of immigration, right? Immigration is so broad. Just what we do is broad. If you add business immigration to immigration, it's a very, very broad field. So when someone said that the immigrations, a good question should always be what type of immigration, because it's involved in a lot of process. So let's quickly go through some of the things that that is of interest to us this evening. Okay. So we're going to talk about temporary protected status, TPS. That has been in the news. That is very important to the Haitian community, I think, as the main audience that's watching us. So it's important that we talk about TPS. Encounters with ICE, that's been on the news as well. Immigration consequences in regards to criminal charges, and immigration court proceedings. So those are some of the few topics we'll be discussing with this presentation. Again, quick synopsis of TPS. Everyone knows what TPS is at this point, but TPS is a temporary protected, and it, sadly, I think people know what TPS is, but I don't think people know what TPS is. Because the reason I'm saying that, for a good majority of people, Haitian in particular, TPS has been extended to Haitians since 2010. So 15 years of TPS, and some people still, act as it's TPS is permanent. So by definition, TPS is temporary, right? So it's a temporary protected status that certain nationals receive from the U.S. government due to their home country's current conditions that prevent them from going back. So the U.S. afford them this protection. With this protection, you can travel, you can do a lot of things. To piggyback to what Attorney Peterson was saying earlier, TPS for Haitian has been a lifesaver in this sense, because with TPS you can actually apply for a travel document, the I-131. It's called advanced parole, right? Once you travel back, now it's been going back and forth, right? So sometimes, like when you come back on I-131 on the advanced parole from TPS, some administration in the past.
Can you tell us what advanced parole is?
Okay, advanced parole is when someone has a TPS, right? They have a legal status, right? Temporary legal status, right? The government said with this legal status, you can actually file this secondary application to travel.
Okay.
The application is called advanced parole, right? It's a form that you fill out. I think it's like 500 $35 form you fill out. So back to what Attorney Peterson was saying, like, some people who didn't have admission at the beginning, right? Some people who swarm into the country, right? Who come into whatever means, but they were not detected in admitted into the country. They use that advance parole to travel back outside the U.S. Right? When they come back, they get the stamp. So a lot of people actually use that back door into admission to actually adjust the status to the legal status. So that's one of the benefits of having TPS. Not only gives you a protected status, it actually allows you to actually travel and come back in. It's same thing with DACA, same thing with other means, right? But a lot of Haitians actually use TPS as a way to actually gain admission. With that admission, they adjust the status to of permanent status. All right, so naturally it protects you from deportations. It gives you a work authorization card, and like as stated earlier, it actually allows you to travel. TPS itself directly does not give you a pathway to residency, but again, if, like I said earlier, with 15 years, and also Attorney Peterson said it earlier himself, with 15 years, like you could actually parlay that into a legal status, not directly, right? But you can travel. For example, if your problem was admission, you can use that to get admission. If you were in removal proceedings, right, that it buys you time to find the means, right? Some family member petition for you. So it's not a direct path to permanent residency, but it does allow you opportunity to actually, at the very least, buy time to gain a legal status.
So if while I'm TPS recipient, are there ways, and you might get into it in your next slides.
No, go ahead, please.
But can I adjust? Is there a way
Yes.
to adjust while?
Yes. No, not directly from the TPS, right? But
Okay.
so what TPS does, right? It gives you a temporary, it pauses everything. It gives you
Yes.
whatever you did, whatever you had, whatever status you had before, did not have before, or if you want to remove proceedings, right? What it does, it pauses everything, right?
Yes.
So with that pause, then you can seek other ways to adjust your status, right? TPS does not lead to that directly, right? But it gives you time, right? It buys you time. At the very least, it buys you time. At best, at least for some people, it actually allow you admission, right? Because by using TPS to travel, you can come back. Because some people, like, they had everything, right? They had the marriage, or they had the kids who could petition for them, but the only thing they didn't have admission. So
Yes.
TPS allows them to come back to travel illegally into the country to actually be able to adjust the status. So again, TPS in itself does not allow you to adjust your status, but it does indirectly provide ways in which you can eventually adjust your status. Hopefully, I answered your question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. So as I stated earlier, right, TPS has been designated for Haiti since 2010 under President Obama, and as of currently, we have over 350,000 Haitians using TPS benefits.
Is Haiti the only country?
No, there is actually a whole. Don't make me lie to you. There's at least, I think, 20 some countries that's been using TPS. Mostly, again, those countries typically have some kind of issues going on at home. That makes no, Haiti. We have a lot of African countries. We have Asian countries. We have Central American countries. I think the list is like up to 26, I believe, but don't quote me on that. But Haiti is not the only one.
Okay.
All right. So the last TPS extension was set to expire on February 3rd. That was on the news. But some other nonprofit organization filed a lawsuit against the government to actually extend TPS for Haitians. Right. So the basis for the termination of TPS, right, by the Secretary of DHS, she stated that Haiti's conditions had been improved to the extent that Haitians could go back. However, the news, the reality on the ground is actually different than what DHS actually stated as the basis for ending TPS for Haitians. They have advised Americans to stay away from Haiti. They actually increased the level. I think Asylum level 5. They actually put Haiti at level 4. I mean, they do not travel to Haiti yet. Secretary of DHS stated that Haiti was safe enough for Haitians to go back to. So that was the basis for the for ending TPS for Haitians. Anyways, so we have some nonprofit organization that actually filed a lawsuit for an injunction to actually pause this ending, right? This premature. Actually, I don't know if it was premature. TPS was set to expire, so basically the government actually attempted to end TPS earlier, but the February 3rd was actually the current ending date of TPS, so it wasn't necessarily premature, but the government was just going to let it expire, and those nonprofit organizations actually brought injunction lawsuits to prevent that from happening. On February 2nd, excuse me, the judge in DC, Judge Reyes, actually ruled in the favor of these organizations and Haitians, stated that Haiti was not safe to return, and that the government did not do their jobs in regards to verify, because in order to end TPS, right, the government must prove that the condition in that particular country is safe enough for the citizen to go back to, and there should actually be a report done, and none of that was actually done. So the judge stated that because the government failed to provide the evidence to support the position that TPS for Haitians should be ending, and based on what we know from other governmental organizations like Department of State that says do not travel to Haiti, and things we know from real life that gangs pretty much took over the capital, that the government did not prove its case to satisfy the necessary burden to send Haitian back to Haiti. So the injunction basically prevent the government from sending Haitian back to Haiti. The judge basically saying if Haitians were to go back, it would create irreparable harm, excuse me, for those 350,000 Haitians. Also, it would have negative economic impact in the U.S. as well, because those people, majority of them have jobs, so that would destabilize the economy. And also that, go ahead.
So you're basically telling us that in order for the government to stop TPS or not to extend it, there needs to be a process where they investigate and they make sure that the country that they're sending people back to is safe.
Yes, that's in the law, right? That's in the article that actually established TPS, temporary protected status, right? Saying in order for TPS to end, the government actually must do their due diligence to prove that those people are safe enough to go back to whatever each country, right? And part of that is a full report that is that is as evidence, and the government did not even attempt to do any of that in this case to prove that Haiti was safe enough to go back to. So because of that, the government, the judge said, everything that we know is contradictory to what the government is saying, especially without proof. So therefore, she ruled for the injunction to put in place to prevent the government from deporting Haitians. The government's, the judge also stated that it is her belief that part of the reason that government wanted to send Haiti back is motivated by racism, basically, discriminations. It wasn't based on facts as we know it.
That's major for a judge to come to that conclusion.
I mean, the judge relied on prior statement made by the president in regards to Haitians, so it wasn't it wasn't coming out of the thin air, right? The judge, actually, I think I didn't go to DC, right? But the judge actually cite to some of the statement by the president. I think DHS Secretary Norm actually made some similar statement as well. So it wasn't that far fetched due to the fact that they just actually pulled those statements from the public records that the president himself made. All right. So good news, right? TPS continues, right? But we know that the government filed an appeal. Again, I'm not sure who's watching the level of understanding that people have. Basically, the government has a chance legally, when the judge make a decision, especially at the first level, you have a chance to appeal that decision. Basically, you're asking another court, a higher court, to look at that decision. You're essentially asking the higher court to rule differently. So this is what the government is doing right now. The government is appealing the decision of the judge, the district court in DC. So I think the government, on the 19th, February 19 was the day the government, the judge actually had to put her decision in writing, basically put for the injunction, right? So based on that decision, the government can actually now officially start the ruling process, the appeal process. So not to bore you to death, right? But just know that the case is currently moving to the appealing process. And I know what most people want to know is how long does that take? Right? Ultimately, right? So okay, tell me what the forget the appeal process, right? What does that mean to me, right? The appeal process means that the government has a chance to the government will argue that the first decision was wrong, right? So the appeal court will have to make a decision. All in all, it takes about 6 months to a year for the appeal court to make a decision. So that's the time frame we're looking at. So anywhere from July until February of next year, we should expect a decision from the appeal court. When the appeal court made the decision, we don't know what's going to happen next. I can't speculate, but if I was a betting man, if the appeal court rules in the government favor, I have a feeling that the Supreme Court will probably say, we're not hearing. So it may get to the Supreme Court, it may not. It depends on what happened at the appeal court. You guys can hear me, right? Oh, I was just making sure I was still. All right. So what does it mean for you guys? All right, your TPS is still current. You can still work, and you should still be able to get a driver license too. I know Florida. I know it's been going back and forth with the driver license, but you should be able to get your driver license as well with TPS. Again, I think the government of Florida actually reversed, for a couple of weeks. They were saying they're not going to issue TP. They're not, because the case was in court. They're not going to issue people driver license. But I think there has been a reverse. I'm not 100% sure on that. So go ahead.
Yeah, the reason, because some people might not be following as to, I believe, when the driver's license were set to expire at the same time as the TPS, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah. So and now I think some state obviously every state is different, right? Because driver license is a state-based process. Yes. Some state give you licenses, but Florida was one of the states like, no, because this case is in limbo, we're not going to give people driver licenses. But I think of course naturally some organization going to sue, and I think there has been a reverse. I'm not 100% sure. I should look that up, but I think there's been a reverse. They're going to give them like a driver license until sometimes in March, which make no sense. I'm not sure the basis for March, but as long TPS, as long the case is being appealed, any benefits associated with TPS should continue as well.
Okay.
All right. So the next topic that's on the news is ICE, right? So how much time do I have?
You're good.
Okay. So I know people have been having worrisome with ICE, rightfully so, by the way. But so let's talk about ICE.
Yes.
Usually, encounters with ICE triggers the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, right? The Fourth Amendment, has to do with like search and seizure of you, of the person or items that you own or carry or whatever. Whereas the Fifth has to do with like statements. So let's talk about each of them.
You're basically entering into due process, correct?
Yes. Well,
Because everybody talks about due process online, but people don't really know what it is. And if it applies, because some people claim it doesn't apply to immigrants.
that's not what the Constitution says. The Constitution says, I didn't quote, I didn't bring the quote, but it says person. It doesn't say Americans, have the right to be judged by a jury of their peers. It says what? It says a person, meaning that in immigration is not a new concept, right? The founders easily could have said, Americans have the right to due process, right? Instead, let's say, a person. So everyone get a due process, and people traditionally do with the this new wave of ICE detentions or seizures, but usually people immigrants get the due process. But I mean, there's the government. Trump has categorized people differently as who gets access and who doesn't get access to due process. So let's talk about briefly with so the Fourth Amendment, right? You have the right to say yes to a search or no to a search, right?
Yes.
And the Fifth Amendment deals with like you have the right to make a statement, you have the right not to make a statement. So if ICE asks you, can they search your car, can they search your house, can they come in? That's the Fourth Amendment, right? You can say no, right? Unless they have a warrant. We'll talk about that.
Can I lie? Can I lie to them?
No.
Or
So
provide fake documents?
no, the Fifth Amendment protects you from making any statement that could eventually basically hurt your case, right, or hurt you, right? So therefore, you don't have to say anything.
Okay.
But if you're gonna say something, you cannot lie, right? So if they say, "What is your name?" You don't have to say anything. Now, especially with ICE, there might be consequences, right? You may get detained for not answering the questions, right? My advice to people, if you have proper legal documents, is just to present that, say little as possible, comply with as much as possible, without having, to get detained. I think, let's be realistic, right? These people, they don't follow the law. Like, with, before this ICE concept, taking over the world, over the country, excuse me. Yeah, you would say, I don't want to speak, right? That would usually be sufficient, right?
Yes.
But now, like, they may not accept that. So if you have the proper documents, I say just show it to them. I'm a legal resident. I have legal status. I'm a U.S. citizen. Just show it to them. But you don't have to. The Fifth Amendment say, you don't have to show it. It's up to you. It's a balancing act, right? So do you want to get detained by these people? Do you want to make the process longer, right? Or do you want to risk it? Like sometimes they may just let you go, right? But you have to do.
I have a question that came in for you.
Yeah.
I'll read it. It says, is there a way to stop? Okay. Thank you, Ruben. He put it up the screen. Is there a way to stop the yearly signing process with ICE for certain people who enter the country from the border?
Yes, there's a legal way. However, ICE has to accept. So if you get an attorney, right, the attorney can say it's like it's a basically when you get those things, it's a bond. You basically release on a bond, right? So it's the same thing as putting like one of those monitors on your ankles, right? That we used to do at the state attorney's office. So you have a yearly, visit twice, right? Usually ICE, they want to see at least you've been, if you have a job, right? The more evidence that the more goodwill you can show that you're going to report. You're not going to flee the country, right? You're not going to flee the state. You're going to return. The more likely it is. Again, I used to do this on a regular. Before this administration, if a person been here for at least 6 months, they've been showing up to at least one visit. I used to remove those. Yeah, you're good. Now it's a case by case basis, right? So there's no guarantee, but yes, your attorney can definitely speak with ICE to see if those yearly visits can stop. Again, the longer you have in the area, the more invested you are, right? If you have a family, you have kids in school, you have a job, the more likely is that ICE can stop those annual visits. But um, it's a case by case basis and analysis. They don't just do it just because you've been here for 6 months.
I appreciate you saying your attorney can help with that. So, in other words, when you're dealing with ICE, the best way to deal with them is to have someone representing you, correct?
Yes. Again, I'm saying this knowing that money is tight, but again, do you want to risk it, right? Make situation worse, right? All right. So, like, anyways, if the ICE officer wants to talk to you, you can say I'm exercising my right.
Exercising.
Thank you to remain silent, right? You don't have to speak
Yes.
if you don't want to. But again, like I said, that may come with consequences too. I mean, people see the news, people see the clips on social media. These people, they do as they please. But the point is, you don't have to talk, and especially if you're gonna talk, don't lie. If you do come to encounter with ICE, remain calm. Do not run. Like I said, if you run, there is a presumption of guilt, right? If you run away from the ICE, then you must be guilty. That's going to be automatic detention. So stay calm, don't run. Ask him, especially once am I being detained, right? What for? Or we just wanted to verify that you're illegally, right? Okay, well I am, but I'm not showing you anything. And then am I being detained? Yes. For what? Further investigation, or no? And then you can again. They have the right to do a reasonable investigation to determine if a crime has been committed, right? So asking a couple questions is not illegal. However, but you also have the right not to help them with their investigation. So keep it as minimal as possible, and the less you say, the better. And also once you request. You should always request to speak with an attorney, especially in a criminal matter. Once you say, I want to speak to my attorney, like if and when you eventually ultimately get arrested, almost guarantee everything you say afterwards will get dismissed, right? So you always want to invoke your right to an attorney. I want to speak to my attorney. So at least, even if you don't have one, again, what that does, like a good attorney can file a motion to suppress, right? Hey, my client says to speak with an attorney, you keep asking him questions. So anyways, anything that you may or may not say after, that statement, likely to be kept from potential trial against you. So you always want to invoke that. I want to speak to my attorney. All right. So how much time do I have?
I was trying to find out if there were questions. I don't think there are questions in the chat. So I would give you a good 10 minutes.
Okay. So let's continue with ICE encounters, right? Don't open the doors, right, without a judicial warrant. Don't sign anything without your attorney reviewing and present. Don't lie, right? Don't resist any physical attempt of detention. Let's go back to don't open the door without a judicial warrant. What does that even mean? People keep saying that on the news. What does that even mean?
Yes.
It means that. So you have two types of warrant. You have the administrative warrants and the judicial warrant. Administrative warrant is a warrant signed by ICE officer, right? Deportation officer. Basically, it's not from the court, right? As the judicial warrant is come from the court. How do you know? So ICE is going to say like DHS, Department of Homeland Security on the top, right? You're going to see the emblem, right? You're going to see that. You're going to see the logo. Or you don't need to know English, right? You don't need to be professional. You don't need to be an attorney, but you could go to the signature line, see who signs it. Does it say, ICE or Homeland Security, field officer, some types of Homeland or ICE, right? Or does it say like, judge, like, judge so and so, Or another way to see it too, like, when I say on top, right, it says, you're gonna see a DHS logo, right? If it's a court, you're gonna see the court. It's gonna say like, district court. You're gonna see some type of court, right? The Fifth Judicial Court, circuit, excuse me. So that's how you know. So if you see the word court or a judge, then you know it's a judicial warrant, right? Again, you can say, hey, let me see the last page, or let me see the top of the page. Whereas if it's ICE, the same top of the first page and the signature page, it'll tell you as well. So again, if it's ICE, you don't have to adhere to that warrant, right? You don't have to let them in. But if it's a judicial warrant, then you have to actually let them in to search. Again, not to get too technical, but you can also ask them to say, hey, let me see the warrant, like to see exactly what is it that you're searching, because a warrant doesn't allow them to search your whole house. It has specific things that they're looking for in your house. But that's only after you realize that it's a judicial warrant, not a administrative warrant. So if it's an administrative warrant, say no. Go ahead.
How do I get to examine the warrant without opening the door? Like, say I don't want to open the door, but I want to take a look at the warrant.
They can push it under the door, or if you have a glass window, right? You can give them instructions. Hey, let me see the top of the page.
Okay.
Let me see the signature block, right? The last page. So you don't have to, most people have some kind of window in the front of the house, right? Say, hey, I'm willing to work with you. However, let me see the warrant. Of course they're going to ask you, open the door. No, just push on the door. Or they're going to be like, no, all right, I have a front window. Let me see it. Let me see the again, like I said, just by looking at the top page, you're going to see the DHS logo. You're going to see some type of court. If it's a court, then at the last page, you can see the signature page. You're going to know if it's a judge or some type of ICE officer.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. Again, basically, the judicial warrant is basically like someone, at least the minimum investigation has already been done, right? Someone goes, to do investigation, they present it to the court, say, Your Honor, I have reason to believe that this crime has been committed, right? So I want you to sign this for me so I can search, to further amplify my evidence, to further amplify, proving my case. So someone actually already did the first steps in the investigation to know, like, okay, this crime may have been committed. I just need you, to sign, this warrant for me so I can further collect the necessary evidence. All right, criminal charges. So a lot of people are being placed in removal proceedings because of criminal charges. Criminal charges is very important, right? So the two main crimes that people deal with that puts them in immigration path is what we call the immigration crimes of moral turpitude, and also known as CIMT, and aggravated felonies, right? So let's quickly talk about we'll talk about aggravated felonies in a minute, but let's CIMT, right? CIMT it's not a pure definition. There is no set definition of. It's basically a crime that goes into your moral character as a person, right? So fraud, theft cases, sometimes violence cases, right? So if you charge with those those crimes, it's a negative impact on your immigration status.
Is domestic violence a crime of moral turpitude?
That definitely. Actually, it could be aggravated felonies, depending on what you're charged with. If it's a felony versus a misdemeanor, I think if it's a misdemeanor, then it becomes a CIMT crime. Whereas if it's a felony DV case, then likely aggravated felony. So regardless if it's a misdemeanor or not, actually that's one of the worst crimes you can commit. Like, and it's so easy to be committed. You don't have to actually commit that crime. You actually have to be charged with it. Like most people, like, I'm a good citizen. I'm not gonna steal. I'm not gonna, murder somebody, right? I'm not gonna traffic drugs, right? But you have a small fight with your spouse. And the next thing you know, you're being charged with, a domestic violence case. Now it triggers the immigration cases.
Consequences, yes.
All right. So deportable versus inadmissible, right? Deportable is basically someone who's looking to So if someone that's only been in, right? That's only been in this. For example, someone with a green card, right? So that person committed crimes. That crime makes him deportable, right? Inadmissible is someone who's like seeking admission or seeking adjustment of status, right? So, for instance, if I'm a green card holder, right? Then, or not me, but someone's a green card holder, right? They commit like a DV case, right? That it would make them deportable because
Yeah.
they already have the green card, right? So for instance, it depends. If it's a CIMT crimes, then it may only be triggered when you travel, right? But if it's a felony, then you can actually start the deportation without having to do anything. Inadmissible is it's someone like, for example, that on TPS they don't have the legal status yet, and they're looking to adjust their status, or they're coming to the border to try to come in. So deportable is when you're already in the country, already been established. Especially like usually people have some kind of status, legal status. Then certain crimes make you deportable, right? And
Yes.
a lot of times, the crimes can trigger deportability only when you leave the U.S. or outside the country. Sometimes you actually, like I said, depends if it's an aggravated felony, then you don't have to do anything more than just commit the crimes, and you can still be deported. All right, so let's look at some of the examples of again those aggravated felonies. That automatically makes you deportable. You don't have to do anything beyond that. Just commit those crimes. DHS will start removal proceedings, against you. So murder, rape, sexual abuse, right, of a minor, drug trafficking, firearms trafficking, child pornography, prostitution businesses, human trafficking, slavery offenses, alien smuggling, money laundering over $10,000. Those crimes will automatically make you deportable. Right? So, right, crimes of violence, right? That's what I said earlier, right? So DV, right? Go back. So DV, for instance, right? If domestic violence, right? For instance, if it's more than a year, if it becomes felony, right? Then that would make you deportable. Whereas if it's less than a year, then it's a CIMT crime. Theft. Theft can be both aggravated felony, right, as well as CIMT, right? It depends. If it's a petty theft crime, like you steal a couple $100 from Walmart, then that it would be a CIMT crime, right? But if it's like like a grand felony, right? Is it grand felony? Am I saying it correctly? It's been a long day, but felony, right? If it's like a third-degree felony, right, like $750 or more, then now it becomes an aggravated felony for the purpose of this. Then let's say you were convicted, it would be more than a year in prison or in county jail. Then that would be aggravated felony. That would trigger automatic deportable. Again, right? This crimes are only if you serve like a year plus. Again, the thing with aggravated felony, once you're deported, like almost there's no path for you to come back legally. Like it's a permanent bar. If you're convicted in those crimes, you get deported. There are a few instances that you get to even so. For instance, you could stay in the U.S., right? And back to what Attorney Peterson was saying, like when you file the asylum application, there's actually 3 benefits in there. You get the asylum, which is the broad one you want, because that one you can actually get your green card. Then you get let's say perhaps you're not qualified for asylum, but you get withholding. Withholding, like it's a lesser benefits. You can work, but you can't become a green card by itself. You can't use that to as a path to green card. Or you can get CAT, which is basically another benefits within the same application. Something against torture. I'm sorry, I'm drawing blank. That's another benefit of the same application, right? So, for example, let's say you commit one of those aggravated felony crimes, you cannot be deported for whatever reason. You could get CAT. I say
what I'm hearing is it's very technical. Once someone gets involved in any type of crime, it just becomes very technical.
It becomes that's why you need a good attorney, because they are like we talk about this already, like when certain plea agreements, right? Certain plea agreements, or certain like certain departure from the charges, or certain like what do you call those we used to do all the time, like to change the crime, from like whatever it was, right? Perhaps from a felony to a
The
misdemeanor, right?
downward departure.
Yeah, well, it's down the what departure usually has to be sentences. So I'm talking like beforehand, right? Like you change the crime, right? You change it to whatever, modify the crime. I'm sorry because I'm drawing
Yes.
blank, but so yeah, down departure is like mostly like after you know the person get convicted or plea and whatever. All right, final deportation versus no deportation order, right, guys? So a lot of Haitians have final deportation order, right? Because one thing with asylum, right? When you apply for asylum, if you don't qualify for asylum, they're placing removal proceedings. The judge, make a final decision. That's final deportation, right? So a lot of people have, so it's hard to get any kind. The benefits you can get with the final deportation order is extremely limited, right? Whereas if you don't have a final deportation order, like you have all types of options available to you. So again, final deportation order is usually when you're in court. For Haitians, mostly for asylum, or if you miss court, you get those final deportation orders. Like, yeah, if you miss court, you automatically get deported, unless you get that. There's a slight difference, technical, right? When you get a place, when you get deported for missing a court, is different than actually going through the process. Because you can still file a motion to reopen if you just
Mhm.
miss court, right? It's hard, but you can still do that. Whereas if you have actually for the final deportation order, then because at this point the court no longer have jurisdiction over your case, then it becomes much harder to actually get the case to reopen. So once you get a final deportation order, like your benefits aspect is very limited.
Yeah.
Right. So without final deportation, right, the person can still file for asylum, withholding of removal, right, cancellation of removal, adjustment of status, voluntary departure, right. We talk about cancellation of removal, right? For example, like once you place in removal, if you have a good attorney, like when I was in law school, my law school professor said to me, as an immigration attorney, we have two jobs. Our job is to, if the person is outside, if the person is outside the U.S., our job is to bring, to bring the person to the U.S. as soon as possible, whatever it means we can, right? But if
Yes.
the person is in the U.S., um, our job is to find a way to keep him in the U.S. So once you talk to a immigration attorney, like sometimes I know we talk about T visas, right? All type of visa, perhaps person can look into to keep you here. So cancellation removal. If you've been here for 10 years, um, you commit no crimes, and you have some kind of I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Some kind of basically you married or you have a parents, right? Qualified relative. Thank you. I'm sorry, qualified relative, right? Then you can actually apply for cancellation or removal. Like based on that, you don't need anyone to petition for. You can actually get your own green card by yourself. So again, these are the options. Once you need to talk to an attorney to see, like, just because TPS is over doesn't mean you get deported automatically. There
Yep.
are ways to keep in the U.S. Right? Again, if you miss court, if you were to get the final deportation, it becomes much harder. All right. So again, if you ever to get to commit crimes, like make sure you talk to your attorney, your criminal law attorney, and have a. If you're not sure, again, it's paid to pay for a consultation with your immigration attorney to say, hey, I have this crime committed, whatever. My attorney's this is what my attorney, this is the plea agreement my attorney wants me to answer to. What do you think? Again, sometimes your attorney will say, hey, yeah, it's fine. And again, don't forget that, right? They're trying to make it a bar compliance, right? But you're gonna be the one facing the consequences. So
Yeah.
it never hurts to get a second opinion, especially when it's your life is on the line. Okay, what does it mean to be placed in removal proceedings? I'm gonna try and go a bit faster. Basically means it's the court or the U.S. immigration find that you are deportable, right? Basically, you should go back home, right? Once you're in the U.S., right? Again, if you've been in the U.S. for longer than 2 years, they have to give you your day in court. That's why we're going back to what?
Due process.
Due process, right? That's basically what this means, right? Because once you entered here, right? Once it doesn't matter how you got here, right? Legally or not, right? Once you enter the U.S. border, right? And you've been here for longer than 2 years, right? With the expedited removal thing, less than 2 years, whatever. So I don't. So if you've been here for more than 2 years, right, legally, right, you are entitled to your day in court, right? That's what it means to be placed in removal proceedings, right? Because once you've been establishing yourself here, right, only a judge can actually order you deported. Like if you were to apply for asylum in Miami, you go to the interview, like they say, okay, you don't qualify, but they can't deport you. So right, what they're gonna do, they're gonna refer you to court. Only the immigration judge can actually say, hey, prove your case. So basically, when you remove proceedings, you get a second day, you get a second chance to prove your case all over again. So, and if you don't qualify, then the judge is gonna say, hey, you're not qualified, so I'm gonna order you deported back home to your home country or whatever. But that's what it means to be placed in removal proceedings. It's not a criminal case, and you get the second opportunity to prove your case all over again. So whatever evidence you had, or you didn't have, you get a fresh look at everything. Now, whatever you submitted, right, to let's say you submitted something. That's what Attorney Peterson was saying earlier. When people submit things to USCIS, guess what happened in immigration court? They save your files. So if your story was that I was part of PhD or whatever, some kind of political group here, right? And when you get to court, you can't change that story.
Yeah.
You can add to it, right? So that's why it's good to get things started correctly to begin with. So just because you were with USCIS, now you're in immigration court, the ACA, which is the Assistant Chief Counsel, right, for immigration court, they still have access to your files from immigration court if they want to, right? Or USCIS, and they do. And decent one will pull your file to say, Mr. So and so, you said you left Haiti because of this. Now please, which one of your stories is, again, sorry, as Attorney Peterson said earlier, like, testifying, right? Your story is the evidence, right? But if the judge doesn't believe you, right, anything you say afterwards, it doesn't count for anything. So that's why you want to make sure you have the story correct from jump, so your story can be believable. You had a comment?
I have a question here, and it's helpful because you have a background in you've practiced criminal law, you prosecuted crime. So I see a lot on social media. I see a lot of people who are alluding to the fact that immigrants or people who are here without documents are criminals. So I need you to say something about
It's
that.
not
Are
criminal.
they the fact that
It's a civil infraction. It's not a criminal. Being here illegally, first of all, being here illegally is a technical term anyways. Not most people who come here illegally, most people who become illegals, they didn't come here illegally, right? They come to the airport. Right? Most people don't fly in overnight, like under the tunnel or whatever. That's not most people. They came to the regular channel, the port, the airport, get the stamp. So anyways, it's not a crime. Being here illegally is not a crime. It's a civil matter. And that's why what? Let's see if we can go back. And that's why when they place you in removal proceedings, right, it's a what?
it's not a criminal case.
It's a civil matter.
Yeah.
So it's not a crime. All right. So how does the process start? Usually they give you a notice to appear, right? The NTA, basically it's a see in court. Instead of arresting you, like when they give you the NTA, they literally could detain you. They literally could keep you in jail, right? Now you may be bond eligible, right? But they can keep you, right? But instead of keeping you detained, they say, hey, here's this notice to appear, right? Be in court and this date at that time, right? And give you the date, the time, the court. So that's what the notice to appear is. When you get there, you get to see a judge, and the judge will eventually going to make a decision on your case. And also, when you get there, you get to present every evidence that you have. Again, whatever case you had before, if you had a case before, or if this is your first time in court, then you get to present fresh evidence. But regardless, if you already had a prior case, you get to add to your evidence. You get to do whatever. Now, you may not want to do anything that contradicts whatever you already had with immigration, but you get a fresh opportunity to prove your case all over again. All right, so the NTA are going to have a list of allegations. Basically, the accusation they're making against you. They're going to talk about the grounds for your removal. Again, it's going to have court dates and all that stuff. and do not miss court. Once you miss court, you automatically, again, some people lately, because they're afraid of going, they're afraid of ICE, they don't want to go to court. If you go to court, you automatically get deported. So I don't know. For me, I'd rather go take my chance to go to court at least it's 50-50, right? ICE can actually detain me or not. Whereas if you don't go to court, it's automatically removal. So please don't miss court. Master calendar is the first day in court. Basically, the judge go over the charges that we just said, the allegations, and Mr. So-and-so, the government's charging you with those whatever crimes, the individual is actually a trial. It's the day that you get to present all the evidence, that you have, and also the government's going to present whatever evidence that they have against you as well. So it's the final hearing. When you get in court, you still have options, right? You have asylum, you have withholding, you have cancellation of removal, adjustment of status. But all those are possible without a final deportation order. Once you have the final deportation order, it becomes way harder. Your option is very limited. In this case, you would have to actually get a motion to reopen. Then again, don't forget the court does not have jurisdiction over your case. It becomes way more complicated. All right, go to every meeting, every court hearing. All right. Sorry, guys, I was rushing through that because I feel like I was taking forever.
It's a lot to cover, so we appreciate your presentation. That was very helpful. Sorry, there's noise outside. It was very helpful. We appreciate it. I don't know if people realize how much information there is to actually provide. So the best way, Ruben hasn't said anything to me, so I don't think we have any question. So could you, if you could bring back Peterson, I would appreciate it. So we're closing now, but I want to give each attorney an opportunity to tell us where of us that would like to maybe have a private consultation. Maybe someone does not want to ask their question online right here. But if you want to have a consultation with any of these attorneys, I will give them an opportunity to tell you where you can find them. They're here in Orlando, but they can share their websites, their email addresses, their phone numbers, how to find them, basically.
Go ahead, Attorney Peterson.
Okay, so if anyone wants to contact Tavu Law, so I have the card on the screen. So we are located at 5749 Westgate Drive, Suite 202, Orlando, Florida 32835. You can call us at 407-457-2095. So we open from 9 to 5. If you call us, you can book an appointment, and we'll be glad to sit down with you and review your case and guide you through the process.
How much is the consultation, attorney fees?
So right now we charge $200 for consultation.
Okay.
But what we usually do—
How long is your consultation?
So our consultation is 5 minutes. But what we usually do when we participate in event like that, we usually give discount. So if they say, "Oh, I was at this event," and what we do, sometimes we waive it or we cut it in half.
Awesome. That's great. Mr. Guerrillas?
Yeah, so my office is by Millennium Mall, 4700 Suite 400. But honestly, I mostly work from home. My assistant, we both available mostly to telephone because I have a new daughter that
Congratulations.
So thank you. But I'm available to meet whenever. My office number is 407-574-2677. The consultation is we charge $150. And also, by the way, we're not taking asylum cases right now. It's moving so quickly, and we don't have the manpower, honestly. But I gladly talk to anybody. As far as time, honestly, we typically don't have a time restriction on consultation. Hopefully it doesn't go over 45 minutes, right? But we'll give the clients, usually the whatever time that we feel like they need to get to the bottom of the facts or the case. How can so usually it's 45 minutes or less. but we're not gonna put someone out, push someone out of the door just because it's 45 minutes. So we here to help the community. We speak Creole, Nepali Creole. If you're Haitians, if you're not, then we speak English as well, at least partially.
Peterson, you speak Creole too, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So Ruben posted the William's number was on the screen.
I didn't send you my card. You didn't ask me to send you my card. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. Ruben, is it possible to post those in the comments? Those business
Yes.
cards?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you can send it to me and he'll post it in the comments.
Will do.
As far as I'm concerned, right now I'm focusing mostly on tax debt resolution. Once in a blue moon, I'll pick up an immigration case, but mostly tax debt resolution. But yes, so that concludes it. I don't know if our presenters have any last words. My last word would be book a consultation. Just book a consultation, especially if you're one of those TPS in that TPS category. We really don't know what's going to happen. We can't predict what's going to happen with this administration. So just book a consultation to explore other options for yourself. Any last words, guys?
And I agree. And yeah, don't wait until the last minute. So speak to an attorney now. Like make preparations. A lot of you guys can have ways of getting, like, you've been here for 10 years. You have qualifying relatives. Like, there are ways. There are VAWAs, there are T visas, there are U visas. Those are different visas that you can self-petition if you qualify. Again, what we do when you come to a consultation, we ask you crazy questions. We do it on purpose just to see, like, what other ways we can. Sometimes, like, people come to our office like, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, not knowing that there are other avenues. So our job as lawyers, it's to get the facts and assess the problem and see how we can help, right? So there are other ways besides TPS, besides someone petitioning for you. Like, sorry, I'm going above, but like VAWA, like a lot of times people stay in a bad relationship, but they could self petition with VAWA. So there are ways, but it's worth it to. I know, like, Haitians the same way. Like, they're afraid to, like, they're too cheap to spend like $150 on an attorney, like, and next thing you know, they make the situation worse. So it's worth it to speak to an attorney for $150, $200. Then you at least know what your options are.
Okay. Any last word, Peterson?
Yeah, so I would say pretty much the same as my colleague, Mr. Garilis, is to get out of your comfort zone and consult. Because if you stay and just talking to another friend and not doing anything, so you're not helping your case. You
I
have
haven't.
to seek consultation. Even though you don't have money, you can do the consultation, then you see your options, then you will know what to do. So it just get out, get a consultation. At least you will know the possibility, because sometimes we just single-minded. We don't see everything, but when you get out, you speak to an attorney, and guess what? You can see you have different options, and there are options that are better for you, and that's why it's best to go get consultation with an attorney.
Thank you. I have a last minute question. Somebody's asking, people are afraid. How do we help them break that fear?
Fear of what?
ICE.
That's what I was thinking too.
Listen, I'm a U.S. citizen, right? But I know I speak with thick accent, so therefore, I have a right to be nervous. So I would be disingenuous if I tell people, like, everything is going to be gravy, right? Especially if your immigration status is questionable, right? My advice is to minimize interaction. Again, don't become paralyzed, right? That you don't want to, you don't want to do anything, right? But do things only when you have to, right? Trying to minimize going to places, and especially if you don't have a driving license, like, they don't have to release you. When we were prosecutors, right, during, like, driving license, okay, whatever. Now they're required to keep you for ICE. So don't drive if you don't have a driving license. Don't drive. Stay away from places that, listen. We know ICE. Sorry, ICE is in the quarter, right? They're trying to get as many people as possible, right? So what do you think they're gonna go? They're gonna go to the immigrant communities, right? Bravo, right? Those places. I'm not saying don't go, but trying to stay away from those places that they're more likely to go because they want to get the most buck for the money, right? So don't do crazy things. Don't get in trouble like spousal conflicts that happens all the time. People forget that the immigration status in question. Like they get into fights with husband and wife. Next thing you know, the neighbors call the police. Stay
Yeah,
low.
I was gonna say this is how we can help. When we talk about the diaspora, people that are here, helping the community. So how we can organize to deliver food to people, be there to help transport kids to school, walk people to places, because that's what we see on some of the videos. It's our decision to be able to help each other. So if we're going to protect our community, let's find out what their needs are and provide them the help and support that they need. If getting supplies from the store, you can help in and chip in with that, because there's people that in this situation that are afraid to leave the house and they're not speaking up, and that can put them in a more serious situation, whether it's their health or just their mental state. And so you want to be able to help them by providing their needs. And so there's things that we that are able to have access can provide them the support that they need until their access is corrected within the system. And like you said, avoid committing the crimes that put you in the situation, but we can reach out to someone that can help you so that you don't have to put yourself in a difficult situation.
But also being prepared. I think being prepared is helpful. So having a consultation with an attorney, keeping that card from that attorney in case you get arrested. You already know that you have that attorney. Having that number memorized is something that can help you. Having a plan if you have children and you get arrested, having a plan that if I get arrested, people are going to kick in. I know exactly who I need to call. They're going to take care of picking up my kids from school, having your paperwork in order, your immigration paperwork, even if you're out of status, just keeping them organized so that if one day something happens, you can see an attorney. Because one of the issues with us is in our communities, we don't keep the paperwork. Just having it organized for an attorney to look at if something happens. So you can only, I would say, prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But consult and see if because you might have an option to get out of the situation.
You do.
All right.
All right. I want to thank you all. Thank you, Doreen, for hosting.
Thanks, Phaedra, for giving us
Yeah.
the platform. Thank
No
you.
problem. Yeah, so I think there's definitely some interest so that we can have some follow-up more directly, but we will post the information when the stream commences, and so that people can follow up and connect with you all if they have direct questions. If you do have questions, follow the comments,
Or I'm sorry, Ruben, if there are people who would like to invite these presenters to come to do a special presentation for them, they can reach out to them directly also.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
thank you, everyone.
Again, thank you, Will. Thank you, Peterson. Thank you, Doreen. And we will get through this together.
And
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
And
you
good night.
guys.
Okay, bye.